Hi everyone, Anne-Marie Batson here, sports broadcaster and journalist. On this extremely warm day, we're coming to the end of August, it's bank holiday weekend, and that means only one thing in my world. It's the US Open, the final tennis Grand Slam of the year. Coming up, my predictions on the women's side and the men's side. The US Open for me means one thing: late nights. We are 5 hours behind here. It's British summertime here in the UK, which means we're about, as I said, 5 hours behind, which means watching matches from 4 o'clock in the afternoon, probably till about 4 a.m. in the morning. But hey, I love the game. I love it so much. I'm willing to put in the hours. And the reason I'm going to put in the hours this time is because there has been so many twists and turns when it comes to the Grand Slams this year on the men's and the women's side. We've had different winners for each Grand Slam, and this is the final Grand Slam of the year, and it is so difficult to call who is going to win. Let's take Wimbledon as an example. It threw up so many surprises, like for example, all the top 10 seeds on the women's side all out before the semi-finals. Who could have predicted that? On the men's side, Novak Djokovic announcing his comeback pretty much 2 years out of the game, and comes back and wins on the men's side, and also, by the way, has won the Cincinnati Masters, which means he completes the set for Masters 1000 titles, and he's the only player to do that. He's going to be firing all cylinders for the US Open as well. I mean, the men's side and the women's side is so wide open. There's going to be the challengers, those who will want to step up and see if they can enter that circle of the dominant players like Roger Federer, Serena Williams, Simona Halep as well, Rafa, Nadal, Novak, Djokovic, Petra Kvitova. You know, the veterans of the game. And I don't like to use the word veterans, but these are players who have dominated Grand Slams over the last few years. And you will have the challengers like Marin Cilic, Juan Martín del Potro. I know he's won a Grand Slam, he's won the US Open before, but who's to say he can't do it again? He's one of my favourites for sure. What about Marin Cilic? What about Kevin Anderson? Kevin Anderson made the final at Wimbledon this year, playing Novak Djokovic, but also made the final at last year's US Open. I mean, it's mind-boggling. It's absolutely mind-boggling. So I'm going to try and break it down as much as I possibly can, and we're going to start off with the women's. In terms of favourites, the first one on my list is going to have to be Serena Williams. She will be going for her 24th Grand Slam title, equaling the record of Margaret Court. Can she do it? Of course she can. I mean, Serena's determination and strength of will is beyond. I mean, she's up there. She's up there. So she is definitely somebody on my list, and she'll have that extra edge to her, given that she lost out in the final to Angelique Kerber at Wimbledon, but she wants to do this for all mothers to show that you can come back and reach those dizzy heights. So she's somebody who is definitely on my list. I'm also going to throw in there Angelique Kerber, because she's the winner of Wimbledon. But her hardcourt season leading into the US Open hasn't been too brilliant, to be honest. Early exits at pre-season warm-up events. So but I'm going to put her in there because, you know, on the day, she's pretty much unbeatable. Let's not forget Simona Halep, who made the Cincinnati Final but lost out to Kiki Bertens. But Simona is somebody who suddenly just elevated since she's won the French Open title at Roland Garros. She's just upped her level so much. You cannot count her out at all. I'll also throw in there Sloane Stephens. Now, Sloane Stephens is the reigning champion on the ladies' side. Early exit at Wimbledon, which she was quite defensive about, and I get it. She did make the final at Roland Garros, and she's done pretty well in terms of the warm-up events. So, and she does perform better at home, but she's starting to now to also win matches abroad as well, which, and I'm really pleased for her. I like her as a player, and I love the matchup. I love the rivalry, if you want to call it that, between her and Simona Halep, and she's fun to watch. She's really, really fun. I love her facial expressions when a ball doesn't go the way that she wants, the face that she makes, because she shows us that she's human. So she's definitely in my list as a potential to lift the trophy come the end of the 2 weeks. On the men's side, the field, like the ladies, is completely wide open. I mean, it's so difficult to call, and like the ladies, in terms of the winners of those Grand Slams, it's the same for the men's. The Australian Open, Roger Federer. Roland Garros was won by Rafa Nadal. Wimbledon, Novak Djokovic. Number 4 at the US Open is a big question mark. You can't discount, obviously, Roger Federer. Even though he lost the Cincinnati Masters to Novak Djokovic, he is a strong contender. Let's not count out Rafael Nadal. Let's definitely not count out Novak Djokovic. They're probably my top 3. Also thrown into the mix, Juan Martin Del Potro. He's won at Flushing Meadow before. Marin Cilic, he's somebody who can trouble players. Kevin Anderson, my goodness, Kevin Anderson. I mean, he's on another level now. He made the final last year. Who is to say that he will not have a good run? I'm pretty much thinking that he will going into the tournament. Who else am I thinking about? Let's not forget Andy Murray. He will be wanting to go deep into the tournament as well. Is he a potential winner of the tournament? I think it might be a step too far, but Andy is a competitor and he'll give it 100%. Don't forget Stan Wawrinka. Stan has a wild card, and I love watching Stan play. He's one of my favourites. I love his single backhand, one of the few players who does that in matches. You cannot discount him either. Outside of that, if you like the wider circle, Dominic Thiem, I'm not sure about. Grigor Dimitrov, who I love to watch. There's a few players I love watching, and he's one of my favourites. Hasn't had a good run at all over the last few weeks, and I desperately want him to build his confidence back up. So could he win it? I don't think so. Could he have a deep run? I'd like to think that he could do. Who else? Nick Kyrgios, question mark about him as well. I went Alexander Zverev. So Alexander Zverev is, we forget sometimes he's still young. He's in his early 20s, and yet he's seen as the future number 1. Somebody that actually, I think him and Nick Kyrgios, when they play each other, will be fascinating to watch. But there's a lot of pressure, I would say, on Zverev's shoulders in himself because he wants to win a Grand Slam. I think this will be a good opportunity for him at the US Open. So fingers crossed for you, Sasha. Sorry, just hit my notes there. Fingers crossed for you, Sasha, and I'm hoping you'll do really well at the tournament. What else to tell you about the US Open? Well, for the first time this year, the US Open for UK and Ireland will be shown exclusively by Amazon Prime. That's right, ladies and gents. The ATP sold the rights to Amazon Prime. So from Monday the 27th of August until Sunday the 9th of September, you'll need to watch your matches online. That's the first thing. The second thing to say about the US Open is that it is celebrating its 50th anniversary, and from what I understand, there's lots of events planned with special guests, music, entertainment, probably some sort of machine that releases confetti or paper or whatever it is in the air to celebrate the fact that it's 50 years since it's celebrating its anniversary. So no doubt for Amazon Prime, which is how I'm going to be watching the US Open, there'll be lots of coverage around that. As the US Open is celebrating its 50th anniversary, the area, or Flushing Meadow, has undergone extensive redevelopment. So I need to check my notes for this. So the Louis Armstrong Stadium is now finished, and the revamp marks 5 years development of £472 million spent refurbishing the Louis Armstrong Stadium and the Billie Jean King National Tennis Centre as well. There's now retractable roofs on the show courts. We see that now. Obviously at Wimbledon you have that on centre court, but also court number 1 as well. There's retractable roofs because of the weather. So, it's undergone an extensive facelift, which people have been able to see and appreciate when they visit the tournament in a few days' time. And finally, at the US Open, there's going to be a shot clock. Horrors. A Grand Slam is actually going to have a shot clock. So if you've been living under a rock for the last few weeks or so, let me explain what the shot clock is. So a shot clock has been brought in to speed up the pace of the game. There's been a lot of complaints and a lot of concerns about how long it takes players to serve. We know that Rafa Nadal can take up to 30 seconds or more to serve a ball, and there's a worry that's putting people off from coming to watch. Not just that, but there's other issues around tennis as well, but that's one of the main ones. So a shot clock has been brought in. It'll be the first time that a Grand Slam will be having a shot clock. If you've been watching the Cincinnati Masters, it has been used there, and it has been used at next gen events and at junior events, but this will be the first time that it's been used at a Grand Slam. So this is going to be very intriguing to watch. So Here's the thing, 25 seconds on the clock to serve. Essentially, that's what it means. If a player goes over, then it's a time violation, and the umpire will tell them that, which means they have to start the whole motion again, but they get it done pretty quickly. So here's the thing, when I was watching the Cincinnati Masters, Novak Djokovic was somebody who was penalised actually for a couple of times going over time. Most of the time he did keep within about the 25 seconds. He'd literally get it down to about 2-3 seconds before he brought his arm up to make the serve. But a couple of times he went over that and the umpire issued a code violation. So keep an eye on the shot clock. From what I understand, there's not been many, I don't think there's hardly been any complaints about it. Actually, Rafa Nadal has managed to make his shots within, make his serve motion within the 25 seconds. Roger Federer is somebody else who's also done it. What makes me laugh is about Nick Kyrgios, and this is why I love him, because he is probably one of the quickest servers. He doesn't mess about. So in the rule of tennis, you're meant to serve within the 25 seconds now, obviously with the shot clock, but the receiver is meant to be ready first before you serve. Nick Kyrgios doesn't really bother with that. He just wants to get on with it. And I think that's why he's quite loved by the crowd. So keep an eye on the shot clock. I hope players don't get code violations, but the umpires must enforce the rule. 25 seconds to serve. Ladies singles title and the men's singles titles. And let's even push out further.